Hello, and welcome to my demonstration of VGA Planets. I was originally going to make this video for a buddy of mine who wanted to join a VGA Planets game we're playing, but I thought why not make a YouTube video of it while I was at it and show everyone that VGA Planets DOS version 3.0 is still alive and well in 2022. People are still playing it, and it's still a great game. Some of you may remember this game from the mid to late 90s. It was mostly played on BBSs, but you could also play just on floppy disk, exchanging at school, or you could, just play it on a single computer at someone's birthday party. We played this game a fair bit as kids. It was quite fun. And it takes a long time to play, so we quite often wouldn't finish our games in an afternoon. But it's a very good game to play over weeks, months, sometimes even years. It takes about 15 minutes a day to play, and it's a turn-based game, so you don't always have to play it once, of course. But let me just give you a rundown of how we've been playing it in 2022 and how you can also if you want to. So because this is a DOS game, we're going to be playing it through DOSBox, and we also have to connect to the BBS bulletin board system to download and transfer your turns, etc. So really the only thing you'll need to start with is SyncTerm. Just go to Google SyncTerm, download the latest version, and by installing the default selections, you will get a list of BBSs that are active to this day that you can dial up to, although in today's world you don't actually dial, you use telnet and connect through telnet port or a secure SSH port. But long story short, you still can connect to BBSs to this day. So the BBS we use is Toker's Hut. So you'll find it down in the list. Once you connect to it a few times, or the first time, it will show up at the top of your list here. So connect to Toker's Hut. And if you haven't connected before, you can sign up with a new account. But I'll log into the BBS as an account I have. And this might bring you back to the old days when you're a kid dialing up on 2400 baud modem. Maybe you upgraded to a 14.4. But it's a lot quicker in today's world. You don't have to wait for the text to slowly scroll across your screen. So there you go. VGA Planets high scores. This bulletin shows the high scores of various games that are on this BBS. Let's have a look at VGA Planets. So this game is currently on turn 16, and the crystalline people are in the lead, followed closely by the Feds and fascists. Birdmen aren't too far behind either. So, how would we join this game? What would we do to get started? And how do we start playing VGA Planets? Well, let's just continue logging in through the BBS here. The next screen will just show us active BBSs, or active users that are on Synchronet BBSs. So as you can see, look at all these different BBSs and users that are active right now, Saturday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And I'll show you the last few callers of the BBS. You just keep clicking through all these messages till you get to the main menu. I don't want to search for new messages at the moment. However, I will just draw your attention to the fact that there are local message boards with tips about the games that are on this BBS that you might want to peruse. If you ever want to get a hold of the sysup to fix a problem, that's probably the place to put it. And there's also DovNet forums on here as well, which is kind of like FidoNet. It's a message exchange system between BBSs. So once we get to the main menu here, you can see that it looks like VGA Planets maintenance is being ran at 2 a.m. every day. So let's go into the games section. And you can't click on things on a BBS. You can't use your mouse, or at least not with this terminal, I don't believe. You type into it. So as you can see, you hit G for games, and then 2 to get into the games. And here are the various door games that are available on this BBS. People would call BBSs strictly to play door games. They would have their favorites that they would play, and they would call around various BBSs to play them. So VGA Planets is what we're interested in, so let's click 14. And this BBS is using what's called the stupid door, and stupid stands for simply the Ultimate Planets door interface or interface door. And it's a very good interface, because when you upload your turn file, which I'll show you later, it'll actually verify whether or not your turn file is good. One of the problems back in the day was when you uploaded your turn over Z modem, and you hoped that actually Z modem was pretty good. If you used X modem or some of the other protocols that didn't have as good error checking built into them, you were at risk of your turn being corrupted and then a wasted day, and that always sucked. But at any rate, what we're doing here is, as a first-time user, we're pretending that we've never played this game before. We need to download what we need to play it. So we can actually get the VGA Planets DOS shareware version right from this BBS. And I'm just looking through the things here. What is it? Files for VGAP on the left-hand side there. So we'll hit F. And it says type the number corresponding to the program you would like to receive, question mark to list files. So we'll hit question mark. And as you can see right here, we've got the original vp300.zip, and we also have a planets zip file, which contains everything you need to get started on Toker's Hut. So this planets file contains this vp300.zip, but it also contains DOSBox and shareware client of VGA Planets, like I said, and Netrunner and telnet clients. Now, Netrunner is a little outdated. I don't recommend using Netrunner. It is a good telnet client to use to connect to BBSs, but for Z modem uploads and downloads, nothing beats SyncTerm. There have been problems with Netrunner and Netrunner and uploading and downloading. So again, just use SyncTerm. So what I would recommend doing here is installing things separately. Probably download the planets file, download DOSBox separately, but feel free to just download the planets file because it's kind of pre-configured, and that's what I'm actually going to do here for this demonstration. Let's just download 2. Do I want to log off after receiving these files? No, because there's another file that I want to download as well. So I'm going to say no. And here we go. We're downloading via Z modem. Look at it fly. 5,000 kilobytes. So it's 5 megs about. And we're downloading at 70,000 characters per second. Let's just see what it actually looks like in terms of speed that you might recognize a bit better. So we're downloading at about 600 kilobytes a second. Kilobits a second, sorry, not kilobytes, kilobits per second. So we'll let this finish. And the only thing we need to do is we're also going to have to download our turn file. So we'll have to sign up to one of these games, download the turn file, and play our turn offline in the Planets program, and then upload it back to the BBS. So we're almost done downloading here. We got another 10 seconds or so to go. 5 megabytes back in 1996 or 1994 would have taken quite some time. I can't even remember. I think of 14.4 modem downloaded at about 1.1 kilobytes a second. Or is that kilobits a second? I always get confused. Look it up. It was slow. It would take forever. It would probably take 20-30 minutes to download that back in the day. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to sign up to a game if we haven't. So let's L for list the games. And there seems to be only one game playing on this BBS. It's called Game 1, Happy Omicron New Year. So let's join this game. This game's already started, so if you are a first-time player, I'd recommend just emailing the sysup and asking him to set up a new game that's new player-friendly. Even if you don't have enough players to play yourself, you can have a bunch of computer players play along with you, but you don't want to start a game right in the middle, that's for sure. Even if you don't mind playing with more experienced players, at least start a game that is within its first couple of turns. But in this case, we only have one game available to us. If I hit V for view scores, this is what we saw when we logged in, turn 16. So this wouldn't be a good game to start normally or to join in normally because it's already started. It's been 16 turns. One turn is one day. But for this demonstration purposes, we're going to join it. So we're going to join this game. And it looks like The ones in blue are already being played by people, and the ones in green are available. So let's choose one of these green ones. Let's choose the fascists. And it just says that the computer player is playing missed turns for this race. So for the first 16 turns, the computer player has already played turns. So do you want to turn this off? And I'm going to say yes. Okay, well, that's a little bit of garbage there. I'm not really sure what that means. You can now run whatever the heck that says. But at any rate, it says we can now download our turn with the D command. So let's view players for this game. So W for who's playing. So here we go. It shows me, TubToke, now playing the fascists. In brackets, it had been played by the CPU, so it still acknowledges that. And the other players are as shown. So now let me download my turn for the day. If I was involved in multiple turns, this is where I could download all the games I'm in, but I'm just involved in one turn or one game rather. So let's download for this game. And do you want to log off after receiving this packet? Now I can log off because I don't need anything else. And I can either wait for the countdown or just hit H, and it disconnects me. All right, so now we've got some files downloaded that we can start playing around with. So let's go to our folder where it downloaded to. We've got the main planets folder, or zip file rather, which contains everything we need to get started on the BBS. And then we've also got our game 1 zip file. So let's just have a quick look at the game 1 zip file. So this is where you'll download the main information file every day for your turn, and it's going to be called player whatever.rst. These other two files are not necessarily necessary. If you have a game with custom race names in it, this would provide that information. But the core file is your player4rst. Now in the planet zip file, as explained, we've got a couple versions of Netrunner, which we're not interested in. The file id.diz is a description file, text file format that just kind of explains what's in this package. DOSBox.bat is a batch file that was created just to kind of assist people who aren't very familiar with DOSBox and how DOSBox kind of mounts, drives, and operates. It looks like this shortcut points to the DOS. So this package would rely on you installing everything to your C Planets folder. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's move this from where it is now to my root of my C. I already had a planets folder there, so I'm going to just back it up. There we go, planets. So again, this shortcut now points to C Planets DOSBox and then the DOSBox exe, and it will immediately launch this batch file when executing it. And again, this batch file simply says go into the game folder. Now the game folder is where your main planets files are, and that's also where you're going to copy your player RST file. So you can copy it into the root of your planets folder, but I always like separating out into its own folder. So I'm going to just copy the game folder right to my planets exe, where my planets exe file is, right there. And inside that game folder again is my RST file. So if I go back to my planets folder now, there's the shortcut. I'm going to just double click it and see what happens here. Okay, so we launched into DOSBox. It mounted my C drive as my C Planets folder. So I've got a virtual drive now as my C drive that points to planets. And now we're in my game folder, just like the batch file said it would. So you have to know a little bit about DOS to play DOS games, but hopefully you can Google it if you don't. Here's my planets, and looking for my directory, there's my directory. So the first thing you need to do when you download your turn for the day is you have to unpack your turn, because an RST file is a compressed file, basically, and it needs to be decoded. or it's an encrypted file perhaps. So we'll just go unpack, which is an exe file inside the game folder, and your game directory, which is where your RST file is. So it's unpacking the only RST file that was in there, player4.rst, and because this game was already up and running, we've got 10 ships already, 23 planets, a star base, and 5 messages. So now we want to launch the game. So we just type planets.exe and then the name of the folder where your unpacked RST file was. And we are now launching VGA Planets in DOSBox. So once we're in here, we go into the race that you're playing. And as you recall, I signed up on the BBS as the fascist. So let's go into the fascist by hitting number 1. And voila, we are now in our VGA Planets game playing our turn. And if we hit the scores, we can see we're on turn 16. We are the fascist right now. Computer did a pretty good job of the starting game. He's got us in 3rd position with 22 planets. Nice. So now what I would do is I would go through my turn and I would play my game. And that mostly involves cycling through your ships, making sure your planets are doing what they need to do. I'm not going to go and describe how to play VGA Planets. It's very complicated. It's a great game and it's well documented. Here's the instructions for it, for example. You can see that it's very detailed. This instruction manual is probably 100 pages long with the ship descriptions. Oh, there we go, 94 pages. A lot of it is very outdated information that you won't need to read, of course, about how to play on a computer, how to play on many computers, what X modem and Y modem are. You don't need any of that. What you're interested in is starting at probably section 3.0, well, maybe 2.0 actually, and reading down through here. But at any rate, that all comes with the package that you download. It's actually in .doc format, which is a plain text file. Don't be confused by the extension. It's not actually a Word doc. So if I just right click and say, well, if I control right click and say open with, I can open it in Notepad, and as you can see, it's just a plain text file. I mean, it will open in Word if you have it installed, but you don't need it. So back to the game that I'm playing here, I would do my turns. I would issue my commands to my starships, my planets. I might make a new ship on my starbase, maybe build some fighters, but let's build a new ship here. Let's see what kind of technology I have access to thanks to the computer playing my turn. So I can make any one of these big ships here. Let's make a Valiant Wind class carrier. That was one of my favorite ships. 7 beam weapon banks and 3 fighter bays, and it can carry a lot from what I can. Yeah, 80. It can carry 80 fighters. So let's build one of these. Well, we built the hull. So now, what kind of drive do we want on this? Let's see what drives we have available. Ooh, computer was playing, so they have access to all these tech levels right up to 10. So let's build. That was a mistake. I already have 10 of these engines. That's kind of weird that the computer would have had so many in stock, but whatever. That's the engines we'll use. What kind of weapons do we want? He doesn't have the greatest weapons, but we'll put these 3 on. Oh, I could do 7, so I'll build 7 in total. We'll add those 7 to my ship, and that's all I need to do. Hit enter to build. There we go. Valiant Wind class carrier will be built next turn. And as you can see, there it is there. Now, just as an aside, there are other programs to actually play planets with. If you are a hardcore Planets fan, you should definitely check out PCC2, Planets Command Center 2. It is a fantastic game, or program rather, and it doesn't require you to use DOSBox or the original VGA Planets client. It'll keep track of a lot of things for you that you would have had to do on pen and paper otherwise. But we're not getting into that for this video. For this video, we're just talking about the original Planets game, which is still a classic, and I still love loading up this client and playing it this way. Okay, so we've issued our turn. There would have been a lot more things I would do for this turn. I'd go through all my starships, make sure that they're doing meaningful things. I'd go through all my planets, make sure that they're producing properly and taxing my natives and colonists adequately. There's actually, look at this, there's 2 visual combat recordings. That means since the last turn, the fascists had a battle against someone. So they've got to battle this ship 22 versus CF62. Let's play it and see who wins. And in DOSBox, you can speed up the application. So you can, like, DOSBox tries to render games at the speed at back in the day on an old computer. But if you want to speed things up, you can go into turbo mode. Turbo mode just through that. Like, because these are 2 crappy ships, and it's CF 6-2 took out whoever they were battling, and they are the victors. They destroyed their ship. Okay, so we've done our turn. Now what do? We have to upload our turn back to the BBS. So that's always the cycle that you would do every day. You would download your your RST file. You would download your information file from the BBS in the morning or whenever you logged in. Throughout the day, you'd play your turn, and when you're done all your thinking about what you want to do, you would what's called make your turn and upload it back to the BBS. So that's what we have to do now. So let's exit out of the game. And as you recall, what we did first of all was unpack game 1. Well, now we have to make our turn. So make turn game 1. So it reads the data in there, sees what we wanted to do. It compiles all those commands into a single file called player4.trn. Well, now that we've got the turn file, we have to upload that back to the BBS. So once again, we go into sync term, connect to Toker's Hut. Log into our account, get through all these bulletins and information just by either hitting enter or no or Q. Here's the logins for today on this BBS. So we go back into the game section, go back into VGA Planets, and it says right here, you have not uploaded a turn file for the fascists today. So it's just reminding us that we have to do that. So we hit U for upload, right here, upload a turn. And you don't have to select which game, if you're in multiple games, which game you're actually uploading for. It will know that somehow, based on the information in the turn file, I guess. So I'm just oops, sorry, I have to change to the folder. Where my player 4 TRN file is. There we go. And as I indicated, it will give a simple check to make sure that your file isn't corrupted. So right here, player 4, game 1, good turn. So that's great to see. So let's just hit T for turns in log on the right-hand side here, top of the column. And this will show you information about the game. So we're on turn 16. It'll show us the 15 most recent turns. And as you can see for the fascists, no one was playing them the first couple turns. And then because no one played them, the computer took over. So the computer's that C in green all the way up to turn 15. So it's been playing it all these times. And the feds, for example, have been played by a real person. And the yes means that they turned in their turn for that day. An N means they didn't. So let's look at the lizards, for example. Turn 2, yes, they turned in their turn. Then they missed their turn 2 days in a row. Then they uploaded their turn for turn 5, etc. And then at the very bottom, it shows turns in so far today, 2, 4, and 6. That means players 2, players 4, and player 6 have turned in their turns. So that means the lizards, the fascists, me, I just turned in my turn, and the cyborg people have turned in their turns today. And that's about it. Now you would just wait until tomorrow and do the whole process again. And if you've never played Planets before, I recommend you give it a go. It really is a fun game, especially if you like turn-based strategy games. And if you have seen or heard of Planets New, it's a web-based game. It was derived off of this original VGA Planets game. So there's a little bit of history for you there. So I hope you enjoy this video. And again, if you have any troubles logging in, downloading, installing anything, playing, feel free to leave a comment on this video. I'm more than happy to help people get started because I love this game so much, and I am a BBS fan for life. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Take care, and smoke them if you got them.